Okay, we're right at 5 o'clock. We'll call to order the March 27, 2023 Lake Charles Harbor and Terminal District meeting. Mr. Guidry has agreed to give the invocation.
Yes. May we all stand, please. Heavenly Father, we come this evening in the most humble and gracious way that we know how, giving thanks upon all the many blessings you bestowed upon us as your Christian people. Father, we ask a special blessing upon the Craychan family. They're going through a real tough time right now, and we just ask that you would put your loving arms around them and embrace them and keep them and let them know that it's all going to be well. And we just ask a special blessing upon this community, upon this board, and for all the people that we serve throughout Southwest Louisiana. We ask these many blessings in your Son named Jesus. Amen.
Major?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. All right, the board encourages public comments and questions regarding all agenda items. Persons wishing to do so should complete a speaker's card, which is at the entrance to the boardroom. When speaking or asking a question on an agenda item, one should, in addition to completing the card, come to the microphone to be recognized and provide your name, address, and phone number. Comments by individuals will be limited to 3 minutes. And that brings us to the agenda. Let's see. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the March 1 special meeting minutes.
I so move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, we have first submission is 2023-011 authorizing staff responses to the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire. Mr. Self?
Yes, sir. Approval of responses to the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire is required by state law. This is a part of our regular audit where Cameron goes in and answers the questions in the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire, and it asks questions like, who are the commissioners, what is their tenure, what is their expiration date, did we comply with the budget law or open meetings law, things such as that, and then we just submit them to you for your review.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve submission 2023-011, authorizing staff's responses to the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Darwin, second by Mr. Creelo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Second matter is 2023-012, authorizing a pipeline servitude with Ballard Exploration. Mr.
Yes, Ballard Exploration seeks a pipeline right-of-way and a meter site on port property along Lincoln Road. This relates to a request from Ballard. It's a 3 to 4 inch line beneath about 500 feet of our property near Lake and Lincoln Road. We've agreed to a fee of $20,000 for the meter site and $750 per rod for the pipeline right-of-way.
Any questions from Mr. Self? Have a motion?
Mr. President, I move approval of 2023-012.
Second. Motion by Mr. Creelo, second by Mr. Prudhomme. Any discussion, debate? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is submission 2023-013, authorizing Mr. Self, the executive director, to enter into an agreement with Magnolia LNG to allow for monthly payments of rent.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Magnolia LNG seeks to extend the current agreement on rent payments. The request it doesn't affect the amount that they will pay for their rent for the year. It just affects the time on which we'll receive the rent. So it'll go from, it's currently monthly, and this just extends that to enable them to continue to pay monthly rather than one lump sum.
So I'll make a motion to approve submission 2023-013.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Darboe, second by Mr. Guidry. Is there any discussion or anybody to speak to this?
We have someone from Magnolia, if y'all have any questions for us?
Yeah, if you have any questions or anything, any true action.
Any questions? Doesn't appear to be.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's just basically because, you know, they.
Could I get you to go to the microphone just to make sure we can make a record?
I'm so sorry. Tammy Truax with Magnolia LNG. They basically just want to go month to month, which I think they've already been doing for the past year, just basically because that's their revenue in and out is monthly, you know, instead of, it's because it's an operating, they're actually an operating business, you know, with revenue instead of just investor income type thing, you know. So it just was easier, made sense for them.
Everybody seems fine. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 2023-013 passes. That brings us to 2023-014, authorizing an amended and restated real estate lease option agreement with Lake Charles Methanol.
Yes, Mr. President. Approval is sought to enter into an amended and restated real estate option agreement with Lake Charles Methanol LLC to extend the term. Lake Charles Methanol's current option expires on September 30th of this year. Recently, they've met with several investors that have requested that the other agreements and this agreement expire on the same time, at the same time, which is December 31st of 2024. Staff and John and I and staff have reviewed the lease and basically amended the lease because previously it related to a lot of petroleum code. This is purely a natural gas to methanol conversion. So we've modified that agreement. Lake Charles Methanol's current option fee is $35,000 per month through the end of September. After September, they will increase the option fee to $50,000 per month. In addition, we've also adjusted the rents and the throughputs for the methanol export and included minimum annual guarantee. And we have Linda Miller here from Lake Charles Methanol who will gladly answer any questions.
Hi, good evening. Just want to give you a short update on the status of the project, and I appreciate your consideration of extending the lease option. These investors that we're talking about are from Denver, and they're a group that have the wherewithal to provide all the money that we need to get to financial close. As you know, we changed technology, as Ricky just alluded to, from petroleum coke to natural gas. Because of that, we have to go through a feed process, again, a front-end engineering design that'll take the next 10 months or so. Once we close with these investors, which we expect to do in April, we will have the money to put that forward. Happily, we already have started Halder Topso, who is providing a lot of the technology for the methanol plant and for the gas conversion. And so they'll be ready to go. So the investors are providing all the money for those elements. The project has all of its output, which is methanol, signed for under long-term contracts with world-class chemical companies who have signed up with us because of the quality of this is something I've been learning about in the last 6 months, carbon intensity. So this project will have a very low carbon intensity. And so in terms of the new world, as we transition into a less and less carbon-filled energy future, this is an opportunity to show how you can use a fossil fuel, which you have in abundance here in Louisiana, and use it in an environmental way so that you have very little carbon emissions. And we're incentivized by certain tax incentives to do even more than what we're doing with the technology, including buying certified natural gas and buying renewable natural gas. And so these will be things that we'll be doing over time to improve the project. But the result of it is going to be a really, really clean and great project for this area. We have half of our natural gas already signed up, but we're working on the other piece with some flexibility so we can buy these other types of natural gas to improve our carbon intensity and satisfy our customers and meet the incentives under, various the tax incentive laws. Excuse me. We have also signed a, I need some water. Signed a contract with Denbury who will put our CO2 in secure geologic storage. So I think we announced that in October of last year. So that's the status of the project. Is there any questions about the project or about what our request is tonight?
I have one question, and not to put you at a disadvantage, but in the submission, it says there's a letter
That's
from
my
Ms.
mistake.
Miller, and it was not included in my
Yeah,
package.
that's my mistake.
Is there any other terms in that letter that need to be disclosed to the board other than as far as any interest or
say again?
interest on payments?
Yes.
There was some other information.
That's
I
all it-
understand that was in that letter, but it's not.
No,
in the package.
that's all in the lease agreement. If you look in the underlying lease agreement, there are some option payments that were not paid in agreement with the board at the time. Those have been accruing as a receivable for the port over this time. Lake Charles Methanol has agreed to amend the lease to allow for 5% interest on those overdue payments, going back to the date
Back
that
to
they
the
are
date
owed.
they were due.
And that's all in the underlying lease agreement.
Right, and that interest will be paid when we make other payments. I think the payments that we'll make on financial close are in the neighborhood of $6 million. When you talk about, there was a one-time payment of $2.1 million. These other payments, including the option payments, but also things for manhole relocation. There are a lot of things over time that you all did. There are a lot of things that we did to improve the site. That's about $2 million. The interest is about $340,000, and then the lease for 1 year is $1.7, $1.8 million. So that's in excess of $6 million when financial close. So we'll all be rooting for that day. Hopefully it'll be in about a year.
Has Lake Charles Methanol actually done any maintenance on the site since they've had it under option? Any improvements? Something about Lake Charles Methanol, not the predecessor.
Not the predecessor company. I think we did some soil borings, so that improved the knowledge about the site. I don't think that we've done other things.
How about like maintaining growth? It's been such an extended period of time, the site's beginning to become overcome with brush, and
Yeah, we haven't done anything to that yet.
is there any intention of maintaining the site so in the event it doesn't go through, that the port gets back a site that was in the condition it was in prior to the option?
Well, not to speak of the prior lease, but since this company and the prior company had the property, we did clear it. We put a tremendous amount of soil on it. We put all the drainage around it. We estimate that there were $20–25 million spent on the site, since this team was working on it.
And I guess that was my question, is there going to be any effort, since we're extending this thing 2 years, is it?
It'll be till the end of next year.
End of next year. It's an extension of about 15 months.
Maintenance, upkeep, so in the
Yeah.
event, the property is back to the position it was in when y'all took it as Lake Charles Methanol.
Yeah. No, but we have agreed that within a certain period of time that we have to start working on the site. That was part of our negotiations on the changes in the form of lease.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Is that all your questions, Carl?
No, I have no further
Okay.
questions.
Any other questions for Ms. Miller?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good presentation. All right. Any other questions or comments for anyone associated with this? We don't have a motion yet, so is there a motion to be made?
I make a motion to approve submission 2023-014.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thorman, second by Mr. Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, submission passes. All right, that brings us to 2023-015, authorizing a second ground lease with Big Lake Fuels. Mr. Self?
Yes, sir. Approval is sought to enter into a second amendment to ground lease agreement with Big Lake Fuels LLC.
Wait a minute, did I skip one?
No, sir.
No, you're good. No, you're good. We're on 6.
You're good.
We're on
Okay.
6. Yeah.
I'm looking here, it shows an LCM option agreement.
We're on 15.
That's,
Submission 2023-015, authorizing a second.
okay, let's do Big Lake Fuels. Oh, that's the, I'm sorry. Never mind. Yeah, my apologies.
Oh, that's okay. This relates to Big Lake Fuels methanol project. Currently, the current lease that they're under required that they enter into a binding EPC by February 1st of 2023. They did not enter into that binding EPC. This amendment extends their ability to enter into a binding EPC to December 31st, 2024, but it also requires a full notice to proceed and for them to begin construction by December 31st, 2024. They're in a full lease with the port for their methanol project at the industrial canal site. We have Alice Shababi here from ProMan. She's going to do a brief presentation, give you an update on the project.
All right, thank you. Please, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. So I'm here representing ProMan and Big Lake Fuels.
Could I ask you to raise your voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear better? So I'm representing ProMan and Big Lake Fuels and want to give an update on where we are. Even though a lot of site works have not started, we have done work in the background, and I would like to share some of that with you. The project is very important for ProMan. It's one of our key projects, and we see that site as a location for long-term growth for ProMan. We did experience a lot of delays. We had difficulties with the market and raising the amount of funds that we need for the project. But we were able to keep the status of the project as what we say shovel-ready or a very advanced development with a lot of agreements in place and all the key work behind the scene, the permits, the Army Corps permits, the air permit, all of that have been secured. We have mitigated over 100 acres of wetlands on the site, which significantly brought a lot of value to the property. I would say over several $1 million spent on wetlands mitigation, and that was a benefit to the port. We draw a water well, which is still operational, that allows us to draw 2,000 gallons of water per minute. So there has been some developments there, but unfortunately, we do take longer than we hoped. We are here to ask if we can extend the date for when we could reach a final notice to proceed so we can finish the development and raising funds that we need for the project. And this date would also coincide with the date by when our municipal bonds are set to expire. So, just going to the next page. Some of the activities over the past year and a half. End of 2021, we raised $324 million in municipal bonds, and the port was the conduit issuer. We really were thankful of that, the support. We have also amended our permit, and we changed and decided we selected the lowest emission technology, and that would reduce the CO2 emissions by about 60%. We've been working with Entergy and transferring to them right of way so they can start a construction of the transmission line that's crossing our property and that would serve our site, but also projects next to us. We have also spent a lot of time on natural gas transport evaluation and carbon capture solutions, so we can make this project also carbon neutral from an emission standpoint. So a lot of work behind the scenes over the past 15 months. And here, just to give a little sense of, perhaps explain a little bit of why the delay. The methanol market has been very healthy, a lot of supply, and a lot of capacity was added in the past 3 years, especially in the U.S. Gulf Coast. We have been finding difficulties to put large capacity such as this one, and that's one of the reasons why it took us longer than we hoped. And in parallel, what we have done is to really develop the demand for methanol, especially marine fuels. Over the past years, we spent a lot of resources and invested in 6 methanol tankers as a promotion of methanol as marine fuel. And we have closed several agreements with large shipping companies globally, and we're able to really bring attention to the use of methanol as a marine fuel, which really reduce emissions and globally. So as part of that effort, we believe that we can really increase the demand for our own product and be able to build several plants. And that's the goal for Big Lake Fuels. We do, for full transparency, we also have a project in parallel in the UAE, which we expect to finalize by the end of this year, and then Big Lake Fuels could come after that, using the same design. So we really appreciate the port's patience. We know it's taking much longer than we hoped, and we would like to do the best that we can to get to the finish line next year.
Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for the update.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank
Appreciate the presentation. We need a motion for the resolution.
Mr. President, I move adoption of 2023-015.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Creelow, second by Mr. Darbone. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 2023-015 passes. All right, next is 2023-016, authorizing SOQ for engineering services for the industrial canal bulkhead and dredging.
Yes, staff requests the Board of Commissioners authorize the Executive Director to enter into a professional services agreement with Moffett Nickel for design services for improvements to the industrial canal property and to amend the 2023 capital budget. Following the expiration of a lot of the leases that we had at the industrial canal, and I say we, they were actually leases that were assigned to us from Shell and BG. Following the expiration of those, we began marketing those sites. We've received a lot of interest, and as a result, we knew we were going to end up having to install a new bulkhead and dredge that site to get it to 40 feet along the dock. And this is phase 1. This, with your approval, would allow us to begin the engineering design for that activity.
And I understand from Nick, we have someone present if we have questions, or?
Yes, sir. Moffett Nickel is here if there's any questions.
Looks like somebody's coming up here.
Yeah, Chris Williams with Moffett and Nickel, here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Chris, the only question I have in looking at the proposals is the time frame to get it into a construction or contract phase for construction. Are y'all looking at it differently than the other firms that have?
Chris, I'll take that one. Actually, Mr. Carrillo, I think there was a little, probably on my end, on the SOQ, was a little vague. That's why we saw such a skew from the different firms submitting. If you refer to, I think it was page 6 of Moffett Nickel's proposal, they actually only have 10 months in there once they learned of the defined scope.
Okay.
Chris,
No, I mean, it's, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Any other questions? Doesn't appear to be. Do we have a motion on 2023-016?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Prudhomme. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bales. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Matter passes. And that brings us to the briefing notes. Let's see, Cameron, I guess we'll start with you.
Yes, sir. So for the month ended February 28th, 2023, we generated revenues of about $3.8 million, which was favorable $800,000. As mentioned in previous meetings, we saw higher pet coke. We continue to see that, so that's good news. And we also had higher bayrite, kind of just due to timing in that month. Expenses were around $2.6 million, slightly unfavorable due to higher operating expenses due to higher tonnages, and then some higher insurance premiums. We were favorable. Depreciation was favorable of $100,000. It's just due to timing of completion of some of the projects. Non-operating revenues and expenses, we actually had an expense of around $1.9 million. I mentioned last meeting that we budgeted our payment to the P3 in January, but we actually did the transaction in February, so that's the reason for the unfavorable variance there. EBITDA was $1.4 million, and cash flow was actually a negative $500,000, again, primarily due to that P3 payment of around $2.5 million, or $2.5 million. On the balance sheet, kind of the same thing we've been hearing. Changes are mostly due to the P3 payment, insurance premiums, the GASB, the new accounting pronouncement, and some hurricane recovery expenses, as well as receipts. So, if there's any questions?
You want to go into FEMA?
Yes, sir. On the FEMA GOSEP side, kind of the same thing I say every meeting. Project totals increase, decrease as they go through the process. Couple of the key things are cranes and 4, 5, and 6 projects still being reviewed by our delegation in Washington and by the experts. So I'm not sure the exact time frame on that. I guess so. We hope to see that coming through pretty soon. Hopefully.
All right. We'll go to your administration report.
Yes, sir. Currently, my staff and I are primarily focused on providing the auditors with the information necessary for them to perform their 2022 financial audit properly and timely enough to be presented to you all in the next couple months. And we've also begun working on the 2023 Forecast 1, which will be presented to you all at the April meeting. And this will really illustrate the favorable vessel and cargo tonnages and revenues that we've been telling you about, especially the pet coke and the bayrite. So, that's it. Any questions? Thank you.
Channing, navigation.
Yes, sir. Just a brief update. We've gotten an extension on our beneficial use site at disposal area 7. This gives us a place to put trash material if we needed for maintaining BT1 or any of our other projects that turn up in that area. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer questions about my report.
Any questions? Thank you, Channing. Todd?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Recently at City Docks, we've had about 10 barges in a ship with aluminum trihydrate. We've had 4 barges in a vessel. 4 barges were at the Turning Basin in a ship at City Docks for bulk rice, rough rice. It's about 31,000 tons. We've had two more shipments of lumber. It's about 26,000 cubic meters, and a sodium hydrosulfide liquid ship. It's about 7,000 tons. On the schedule, we've got another 32,000 ton or cubic meter vessel of lumber, ship, and 2 more barges for about 20,000 tons of hydrate. And then we're going to have some new business, about 6,600 tons of calcium chloride pellets. At BT1, we've had 3 ships. We loaded about 103,000 tons. about 2,000 tons of calcine, a 47,000-ton shipment of barite, and 30,000 tons of rutile. Currently, we've got 5 raw coke ships scheduled. We're loading one right now, and with the other 4, it's going to be about another 125,000 tons of raw coke. Another rutile vessel should be starting at the 1st of April. It's about 9,000 tons, and a 8,000-ton calcine ship. So we're staying pretty busy at BT1. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions or comments for Todd? And I understand Terrence is not available.
Yes, he's attending the IPF conference in Baltimore. It's a wind energy conference.
We have his written report. Nick?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Engineer?
President. I just wanted to give an update on a few projects at City Docks. Berth 2 and 3 is still progressing nicely. Pile driving is complete, and we're trying to finalize some change orders there to due to all the underground obstructions we encountered. But that project is on track to be complete in August. We also have the new warehouse 300, which will replace 7 of the smaller warehouses. It's out for bid now. So that will be a very large project for us. I think it's 183,000 square feet as a result of hurricane, of course. And then also berths 4, 5, and 6, the project is now 100% designed. We're going through the final estimating process for the GMP, as well as just finalizing the contract documents. But I will be bringing that to the board probably in the next 2 months. We're also pursuing some grant funding for a new multi-use transloading area at City Docks. And also Shed 7 is in design. So over the next few years, it's going to be a very busy construction place, but after those few years, we're going to have a much more resilient and modern port here at City Docks that will hopefully get us through that hurricane. And I say, no, not hopefully, will get us through that hurricane. That's all.
Appreciate the attitude.
That's right. I'm confident it will.
Any questions for Nick? Any lobbying reports other than what's been submitted?
Yes, I would just like to ask for a point of personal privilege. A lot of you know that Mr. Larry Crayshan passed away and was a big part of this port and for this community, and it's going to be a great loss. And a lot of you were there for the funeral and for the wake, and it's just sad that someone had given so much in the community, and outside of what all he did for the port, he did a lot of other nonprofit things in the community. And I just want to say to the family that we're going to be praying for you as a board, and we're just going to extend our heartfelt sympathy to you all. And Mr. Crayshan played a huge part in a lot of us, in a lot of our young lives, and he was a big part of mine in growing up. And I just want to say that he's going to truly be missed, and that you all just continue to keep the Crayshan family in your prayers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right. That brings us to the matter of an executive session.
Mr. President, I move that we go into executive session.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and second for executive session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?